Hello and welcome back. So I have in this video we want to write the equation of this graph or this function based on the graph of the function. I don't have any tables, but I have the graph of the function and I want to write the equation of this function. So but it does not really matter whether you have the table or not, as long as you have the points, you know, at least a couple of points on the graph of the function. So here you know that your f of 0, here this is x is equal to 0, your f of 0 is equal to 6, and your f of 1 is equal to 9. So this becomes basically 2 points, and so this becomes your input, this is your output. Input, output. So what happens here is that, again, because this output happens at x is equal to 0, then this output becomes your a, or where basically the y-intercept of your function, because that's where the function goes through the y-axis. So basically your a is equal to 6. Now I will also tell you why that happens, because the reason was not very convincing. So why a is equal to 6 is that, let's say that, for example, let's say that the general form of this exponential function is f of x is equal to a times r raised to the power x. So when your x is equal to 0, then r raised to the power x becomes 1, whatever r might be. So then in this case, then your f of x becomes a times 1, which is equal to a. So when your x is equal to 0, f of x is equal to a. When your x is equal to 0, f of x is equal to a. So a is equal to 6 here. So that's the reason why I said that 6 is your a. And to find your r, what you need to do is basically you need what your f of 0 is, and you need what your f of 1 is. So the common ratio of this function is 9 divided by 6. So basically you move 1 unit towards the positive x, towards the positive x's. At this x, you know what your output is. At this x, you know what your output is here. So you divide this output by this output, and that becomes your common ratio. And then based on this common ratio, this function is always moving and moving and moving. So then this becomes 3 divided by 2. So your r is equal to 3 divided by 2. So that basically means that based on a and r that we found here, and based on this formula, then your f of x is equal to a, which is 6 times 3 seconds raised to the power x, and that is the equation for this function. So 6 times 3 seconds raised to the power x. Okay, so I have another example. So here again we have the same story. F of 0 is equal to 8. So f of 0 is equal to 8. F of 1 is equal to 2. So because of this, and the general form of this exponential function is f of x is equal to a times r raised to the power x. Now again, I don't need to go through the same reasoning again. because at x is equal to 0 your output is equal to 8, then that 8 becomes your common ratio. Becomes your a here. So a is equal to 8. And your r is basically two successive terms for two successive inputs. You consider the two outputs and then you divide the output. For example, here you have f of 0 and f of 1. You divide f of 1 by f of 0 and you will get your r. So your r is equal to 2 divided by 8, which is equal to 1/4. So then based on these three, you can write f of x is equal to a, which is 8 times 1/4 times 1/4 raised to the power x. And that is okay. So I have some more examples here and we'll talk about them in the next videos. Thank you.